He goes, oh yeah! And Peter Chris is going crazily.
If you rob a store, you can fully expect to be shot.
I did nothing wrong.
You can't do stupid stuff. I am sober and rarely drink alcohol.
You need to ask permission from everybody in the group to bring your white friend.
And everybody help me save the Sinner's Prayer safe.
2 security guards framed me for masturbating in the restroom. Something I did not do.
Oh, my man!
Melinda Brown Duncan, baby!
Chickens down every day, Greenwood. Churches, Popeyes, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
He assaulted me with a chicken!
Hold up, wait a minute. Something ain't right.
If he were habitual homosexuals, then by all means.
Chick, you have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving. Pretty soon we're going to be calling this country.
Unbelievable.
That's all I'm saying.
We need to go back to like taking women out of the workforce.
Surround yourself with smart, talented people.
Well, you ain't seen nothing, my friend, until you have a flame coming out of your butthole, and you need an asbestos diaper to be able to keep that flame from burning a hole in your pants.
My wife had my weed in their purse, and the motherfucking cops took it. It was only like 4 grams, but it was really good weed.
Yeah, man, you just an unlucky dude.
Don't hate on prostitution, because guess what? It's been going on since before humans, man, and you don't even know about it.
Now I'm gonna wrap it up.
I quit this bitch.
On a big station. Rock 1069.
Bye!
We need to put women back in the kitchen.
Have a great Friday, you motherfucker.
Welcome to Friday morning on the Stansbury Show on Rock 1069, online for you at WRQK.com. That's where the podcasts are hosted. So if you missed anything this week, this month, or last month I should say, or this last year, grab all the shows at WRQK.com. You can follow along on social media, The Stansbury Show. And your studio is always reachable at 330-450-7625. Toll-free options 800-243-7625. You'll need those numbers around 8:45, as I will have Primus and Coheed and Cambria tickets for you. I'm going to remind you today that Coheed, one of those cool bands there, one of the very cool bands, covered a band. You guys all tell me how bad they suck. Yeah. I'm going to remind everybody of that today around 8:45. We'll do that. Looking forward to that. And we'll get those tickets passed out for Primus and Coheed and Cambria. You can also text the number 330-450-7625 as well throughout the program. Today at 9 a.m., an NFL prospect does not believe space is real. He does not believe other planets are real. He's blaming religion for this, and I don't understand why. My parents were very religious people, absolutely religious people. Did they believe in space? Yes, they did. They would have told you that God created all of it, but that it's out there. Like, that it's there, since we got telescopes and stuff. Right? Like, we have all that kind of stuff. This is a byproduct, and I was saying this a few years ago. This is the byproduct of telling everybody they get to have their truth. Like, no, you don't. There is a truth. You have a story. This is you may have an opinion that this isn't a real thing, but we used to just point and laugh at people that didn't believe space was real. Again, dude, anytime anybody battles you on this, space, flat earth, any of it, ask them how many space agencies there are in the world. When they tell you they believe NASA is the only one, laugh in their face. 9 a.m. We'll tell you what an NFL prospect had to say. I do have that quote. Looking forward to playing that for you. All right, apparently people are not having kids anymore because of the cost of this. I feel like I hear this story once every 15 years, but apparently we're back to this now. And will we have a population problem? I think there's too many people already. Elon's like, dude, we need 3 times now. I don't know what the hell for. Unless they're going to turn this into fuel for the machines. Like, I honestly don't know what the hell we would need that many more people, I had to say. We'll get there coming up at 8 o'clock. Also, you hear toxic masculinity all of the time. You hear it every single day. It turns out, you know who may be some of the most toxic people on the face of the planet? It might be Taylor Swift. All right. There's a piece of audio I've played on the show 1,000 times, if not more, of a little girl, I believe 7 years old when the audio was recorded, singing the national anthem. Malia Emma. The performance is so good that I remember that little girl's name. That's how good it is. Another 8-year-old girl has gone viral this week for a national anthem performance, I believe, at an Indiana Pacers game. And this is the opposite of Malia Emma. So we'll give you both versions. We'll look to do that around 7 o'clock this morning. That video, that piece of audio, I got to be honest with you, it's not the easiest listen of all time. It's not.
Here's what's next on the Stansbury Show.
Okay, so Bradley Cooper, I think we would admit, is one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, right? Wait till you hear what this guy has said about his daughter. People are furious. We'll address it next on the Stansbury Show.
By now, you're asking yourself, is he trying to be wrong?
You incinerating that I'm dumb, but
The Stansbury Show.
9 a.m. this morning, an NFL prospect does not believe in space or other planets. This yesterday, and I was almost hesitant not to talk about it.
Stay right there.
I don't have children of my own. I decided not to do that years ago. A lot of reasons why. Chose not to do it. I am madly in love with a woman who has 2 great kids. And so I've seen the benefit, you know. You guys were right. I was wrong. But when I talk parenting issues, man, people will get heated. Well, you don't even know. And I always say, well, I'm alive. I had parents. I was a kid. And I see all of you out there with your children. And, you know, I don't really like telling people they don't get to have an opinion on stuff. There's a couple of subjects. Well, you can't even do that, so you don't get to have an opinion. Over the last few years, you've been telling me I can do that now, so how about I do get to have an opinion on it? Yeah, that's what I thought. Sit your ass down. Right? And like kind of the stuff goes crazy. But I saw Bradley Cooper say something about parenthood. He's the father. And I couldn't decide where it came down. I was like, is this more common than I think it is, maybe? Would it be more common for men to think this than women? Here's what he had to say. Apparently, he struggled to like connect with his newborn daughter. Now, I believe she's a few years old now. He's kind of talking about when she was born. And he was on with Dax Shepard the other day, and he was talking about how the few months of Leah, apparently that's his daughter's name, he didn't understand when fellow parents would say, I would die in a second for my kid. He said he didn't quite get it. I didn't understand it. Quote, the first 8 months, I didn't even know if I really loved the kid. It's dope. It's cool. This part I didn't like at all. I'm watching this thing morph. So many people yesterday where I saw this were in the comment sections, of course, going, oh my God, imagine being his daughter and hearing that. Imagine being his daughter and reading that. And other people, of course, are applauding him for his honesty and keeping it 100. You bet, right? You pay a penalty, to be honest. Especially in today's society, do you pay a penalty for being honest? For sure. I mean, look at what we're talking about. He said, I was fascinated by it. Loved taking care of it. But would I die if somebody came in with a gun? Again, can we stop calling it, can we stop calling her it? Like, I just stopped short of doing that. It's not my dog. I'll never meet Bradley Cooper or his kid. And yet I know that. It's like, dude, this sounds bad. Because I got to be honest with you, as you're telling me it took you 8 months to get connected to the kid, now I kind of feel like, well, did it happen? Like, did it happen? He admitted, a couple of months into her life, I wasn't sure. And then all of a sudden, like, no question, he said, it just kind of happened. He confessed shortly after, explaining he has since strived to be a better person in order to do the least amount of damage that he could to the, better half and the daughter. I'm not sure I'd be alive if I wasn't a dad. I'll stop the quote right here to interject and say, I can't tell you how many guys I know that have said that. My dad said that. A lot of guys I know have said that. There's a listener of mine who's been with me a long, long time, Chris, who has been very honest with me about, dude, his life was a mess. And I mean a mess. And apparently, they found out they were going to have his son and, like, on a dime, man. He switched and just became a different person, better person, he'll tell you. I didn't know him before he was a dad, but like, I've met him a handful of times. He seems like a great guy. But like, he's told me for years during the show, you know, writing in and stuff, telling me, oh my God, man, like I just completely switched the day my child was born. Actually, I think his thing was when they found out they were pregnant, right? It kind of snapped him into like, okay, I need to be an adult now. Bradley went on to say, I just needed somebody to say, like, we're going to drop this massive anchor. I'm like, we're speeding. I just got an upgrade on the boat, and I know where the wind's coming in. They're like, no. There's a tsunami coming in, and you need to anchor, and we're going to drop it. Again, he's kind of talking about how your life will change. I saw a lot of people admitting that it did take a little while, that it wasn't just like a light switch, you know, turning on. I got to be honest, this was on the list of reasons why I didn't have children earlier on in my life. I picked a very flaky career field. That was part of it. I had a lot of childhood trauma at the hands of a neighbor. That was definitely the bulk of it. But there was part of me is like, am I that guy? Am I that guy? I don't really feel like that guy. I don't enjoy things. I don't really like anything. I've got a great life, and yet I wake up every day and the first thought in my mind is, oh my God, again? And like, so like, am I really, am I the guy? But then you guys were right. You spend some time with children. You know, my brother's daughter, but I'm so far away and she's now in college. But, you know, I didn't really get to experience that up close. You know, I was selfishly here chasing a career versus, you know, going out there more often as I should and spending more time out there as I should. I just didn't do it, right? And but you know, now, you know, a few years later, you kind of, you know, you wove yourself into somebody else's life, and it's like they're the best thing ever. Like, they really are. They're unpredictable, but they're the best thing ever. I would have preferred. I'm okay with them telling the story because I think people need to be truthful about what their journeys are, what that journey is. I think you need to be honest about what that is, and I'm okay with it. But as you're sitting down to be interviewed, everything you do makes news and headlines. I'm not sure I would refer to my daughter as it.
He was the most hated man in America. And then Kanye came along. Ah, thanks a lot, Kanye. The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show, 8:45. I'm going to get you into Primus. August 5th out of Blossom with Coheed and Cambria. My final set of tickets today, 8:45. There has long been plenty of conversations in this country and amongst you and your friends about whether or not people can get over cheating in a relationship. I once was given advice about this from the same place I got advice on everything, from my father. And I remember him saying, it can happen. People can get over it, but when you forgive, you damn near need to forget. And the point is that you can get past it, but when you fight about where the remote is, you can't turn around and be like, well, you slept with Billy, right? And like, you kind of have to move past it. And I think a lot of people would struggle with that. I think I would struggle with that. I bring it up because I read this story about a guy who found out his wife had been unfaithful to him. They've been married a long time, damn near 20 years. As a matter of fact, they got together and started dating early in high school, right? Then here comes college. And they decided they were going to go to separate universities. And so you would think what a lot of people would do is go, all right, well, you know, you go to college and good luck with this. No, they tried to do the long distance. And he was under the impression that they have done it and had done it successfully. He was leaving his school to go see her every weekend. He had to make the effort. That should have been your first clue right there. People will tell you all kinds of stuff. I'm busy. I got this. Everybody's busy. That is the worst excuse of all time. You cannot look at another adult and tell them you're busy. Because basically what you've said is I'm bad on this issue, and now on top of that, I'm dismissing what you have going on in your life too. I'm more important. Might not be what you're trying to say, what you mean to say. It is what you are saying. You got to be careful with stuff like that, right? So apparently he would leave every weekend and go see her. So now you fast forward all these years. They've been married almost 20 years, like I said. And they're at a dinner party. And one of her friends kind of let it slip that she had been a little wild in college. So he said, man, I almost missed it. He's like, I almost didn't catch it, but I happened to see my wife out of like the corner of my eye, and her face like went pale. And she's given the friend like the look, like, how dare you do this right now? You know. So sure enough, the dinner party wraps up, they go home, the conversation's not done, right? This ugly, smelly thing was opened in front of everybody, and now we got to figure out what's been happening here. So sure enough, he finds out that she had slept around quite a bit while in college. Now, what a lot of people are going to tell you is, welcome to college. Like, that's kind of what it's for. It's to find out what you know, what kind of adult am I? What kind of responsibility am I ready for? And to get a little bit of the, all right, let's see what this does out of your life. It's an experience I wish I would have went through, honestly. In my career fields, you don't have to have done it. But there is this time of your life where it's like you're expected to have some responsibility, but if you act like a complete idiot, everybody just goes, yeah, all right. You know what I mean? Kind of do what you want. I mean, I know you're spending $100,000 of your parents' money every year, but yeah, screw it. Just do whatever you want, right? I mean, it's kind of nuts. But so many people look back on their college years as the best time of your life. It's like, yeah, because somebody else was paying for you to live and then requiring absolutely no responsibility out of you. Of course, that was the best time of your life. Of course. I mean, imagine. I wish somebody was paying for where I live now and just didn't care if I got hammered every night. That would be amazing. So he ends up finding out that it wasn't like one guy. It wasn't even like twice, maybe. 30 different encounters, apparently 26 different men. She had to start pulling out pen and paper to write them down. Now, I can't really snicker at that all that much. If I was going to list everybody I had sex with, I gotta be honest with you, it's gonna be like, oh man, I forgot about her, dude. Like that, it happens to me. Sometimes I'll be in a store and I'm like, damn it, I forgot about that, man. Like, dude, that's right. I completely forgot about that, right? And so it happens to people, right? As you age, you start living a little bit, you know, your memory's not as good as it once was. But now he's like concerned about, well, what do you do? I love my wife. I want to be with my wife, but I don't know how I get over this. So you know what the question is now. Should he then get the hall pass to go out and run around? He thinks this is the best way to go about it. I don't. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know them, right? This thing kind of went viral and I read about it. But if you were the kind of person who wanted to step out on your wife, my guess is you would have already been doing it. Or at least closer to it than you are right now. I think in the end, you will hate her more. You will resent her more if you then get the hall pass to go out and do whatever it is you want to do to try to keep the relationship together. Because not only did the other person, it doesn't have to be about a woman, right? Not only did the other person do this thing to you, but now the situation, apparently you two think the fix is for you to turn into the kind of person that did what was done to you. And I think don't get me wrong, sex with somebody new, it's like, variety. I like it, right? Like, of course. I date a beautiful woman. I make sure I look at every other beautiful woman I see throughout the day like, damn, man, look at that, right? Like, I mean, come on, we're human beings. We're animals, for crying out loud. It's kind of just the way it works. Right? So like, you can look all you want. It's like, yeah, peruse the menu, but don't be ordering nothing off of it. Right? Like that's kind of how it works, right? And I think you're just going to get more mad at her in the end. And then you're going to think this is going to fix all of your problems, but it's not. You having sex with Trisha isn't going to make you forget that she chose 26 other people over you. You're not getting over that by sleeping with somebody else. Now, if you get divorced and you kind of need to people will say the only way to get over somebody is to get underneath somebody else or to get on top of somebody else or this and that. It's like, I think that all depends on where you are in your journey. I think the younger you are, the more likely that is to be true. And the older you are, the more likely that is to be true. I think when you're in that middle zone, where you're head down, working for, too many hours, but not enough money, I don't think that's going to be true of that. I don't. Younger, I don't really care. I'll just, sleep with this person. I kind of wash the feelings off my body, and I'll move into this next thing, and I'll take all this hurt, all this worry, all this pain, and dump it in this person's lap, right? And so I think that's what happens. And then, you're 60, it's been 3 marriages or whatever. I don't care, whatever. Let's just, let's get the blue pills. We'll, circle the, old folks home, hit a few things, and then we'll be done and I'll die. But in the middle, it's kind of like, nah, dude, like that's not necessarily going to give you the peace that you're looking for. I think a lot of people have a hard time. This is why I think guys want to beat up the guy that their woman cheated on them with, is because you can't do the other thing. You can't stand up and say, now you kind of suck as a person and I deserve better than this. So I'm leaving your ass, because it ain't about him. I don't need to punch him. It's got nothing to do with him. That's what dumbass alphas think they gotta do. A real alpha understands, I'm in control of my life. I'm in control of my emotions. You suck. I'm leaving. I'll send you the check every month for the kid. See ya.
Back to the Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
It's 330-450-7625 to send a text to the studio, and plenty of you have already this morning, as we were talking about a guy, been married 18 years. And he found out that while he and his wife were in college, they went to separate colleges and they did the long distance thing, that she had slept around quite a bit. This came out at a dinner party, apparently. And they get home, they're having the argument about it, and he ends up finding out it was 26 different guys, apparently more than 30 occasions. And, he was leaving his college every weekend to go visit her, to try to keep the relationship solid. They graduate, they get married, they move on. It's been 20 years. He thought they did everything perfectly. He ends up finding this out. So, of course, people got strong opinions on it, including Jody, who texted in at 330-450-7625 and said, no, I'm sorry. It's just like, that's insane. It's like, that's an attention-seeking person. I'm not into it. I want out. Get me out of that. Tim kind of sees it the same way. And it, texted in and said, forget disrespecting me. You're disrespecting yourself at that point. Now, it's pretty judgmental, right? Which is fine. You're allowed to be judgmental. God knows I am. I had been plenty promiscuous in my life. If I was going to be honest with you, and I try to be when I can, there were times where it was literally just me having some fun. And yeah, there were times where I can look back on it now, recognize my behavior, recognize what was going on in my life, and realize, no, I was disrespecting myself. I was. And really what I was doing is allowing other people to disrespect me because of the lack of self-esteem I had. That's really what I was doing. Now, because that's what was going on with me does not mean it was what's going on with everybody who's promiscuous. Although there's a little bit of an issue. Can be an issue there. Most times, I believe, that's my opinion, that there will be an issue behind that. I could be wrong, but there was for me, right? So we had been talking about that a little bit. And, Ryan was like, why do we have such a hang-up about sex? Like, I don't get it. I was like, well, the hang-up's maybe not sex, it's the deception. He was going to see her every weekend. She was lying in his face. Being able to do that. Now, the younger you are, I think the less likely you are to think about, at least from our generations, the fact that you can really hurt somebody. Right? Like, there's that human being thing in that of like, well, it's just me. I'm capable of hurting somebody. It's just me. Right? And so I think there's some of that. The younger you are, I think this generation now is a little bit better on this than maybe mine was. And I was like, man, it's not just the sex, it's the deception. And he's like, well, my thing is like, if you're going away and you're going to be at separate colleges, why not just set up an agreement? Where's the hang up on sex? Like, dude, sex is a necessity. You need it. So when you're at school, you do what you want to do. And when I'm at school, I'll do what I want to do. And when we're together, right? Open relationships. So I've been in one. And let me tell you, I told everybody up and down this hallway in the sales department, I'll never forget, because one of my salespeople, Andrea, looked at me like I was an alien when I was talking to her about it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's perfectly fine. Looking back on it, no, it wasn't. For me. My feelings were hurt the entire time through that. I was in denial about it. Maybe that's my hang-up about sex. We all have a few of them. I'm not going to be above that. I'm a human being. So, okay, I'll meet you there. Maybe it is my hang-up about sex. I will tell you, depending on who that she decided to spend her time with, did change how it affected me. Jealousy comes into play there. I think a lot of people like to think that the agreement of, all right, shake hands, let's go bang it out with other people. I think a lot of people think they're going to be okay. But I don't know what's going on in Ryan and his wife and his marriage. They could be swinger. I don't know, right? So he could be sitting there thinking, what are you talking about? Do we do this and we're fine with it? I don't know. But I think a lot of people think they're going to be fine with things. And then you get in it and then you're like, oh. Again, sexuality, what you desire and what you will allow. I say it all the time. Just because you think you want something, you think you desire something, does not mean it's what's best for you or healthy for you. I relate it to food all the time. I have not yet had breakfast this morning, which is normally a protein shake. If you put things that I should not eat in front of me right now, I'm eating it. I will eat every last bite of it. I know I shouldn't, but I desire it, so I shall have it. That's where we are now. Now, we're talking about a story that happened, 20-some years ago, so it's not necessarily that. But I think a lot of times people think they're going to be okay with it. And then you get into it and you realize, nah, not so much. Also, the sex is a necessity angle I don't think is really valid here, as he was leaving college every weekend to go visit her. I tell you all the time, sex is medicine, it's restorative, there's a lot, absolutely. And lack of sex breaks up relationships all the time. Right? Like, as a matter of fact, my girlfriend and I are very different here. She is very much absence makes the heart grow fonder. So when our schedules keep us apart a little too long, for her, it's actually, she kind of likes it because then she sees me. She's like, oh my God, I love you so much. Blah, blah. Where I can get a little like, oh yeah, I forgot about her a little bit. Like, I mean, I just can't. It's just out of sight, out of mind is how I work. It's how I am with my friends. It's how I am with my friends, my family, my it's a personality flaw. It's not, I'm not telling you it's great. But it is part of, her and I are very different that way, right? But like, this guy is going there trying to keep this relationship afloat. And the deception, the lying, the looking at you, everything's fine. How much you miss me. No, you don't miss me. Because if you're sleeping with 26 other men while you're at college, and I'm, on the other side of the country, I don't know where they were. I don't know how far apart they, were, but apparently he was driving there every weekend, so it wasn't that far. Far enough. But you don't miss me. You're taking actions to make sure you don't miss me. Now, let me guess what people are going to say. Well, it's just she missed him so much that this is how she decided to get right. She decided to be selfish. James has got another look at this, and I think it's absolutely insane. But, there's different strokes for different folks. He's like, I don't understand the problem with this. You're in college. They weren't married yet. She slept with 26 different guys. She went through all of that and chose him. What's he worried about? Well, I would push back, and I'm gonna, by saying cheating on somebody with 26 other people is not choosing them. That's choosing you. That's what that is. She didn't choose him. She had him and did this to him. Deciding to date him, wait for it now, deciding to date him and then deciding to be in a long distance relationship with him. That's choosing.